Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tank review, and today I have a review of the Tier 7 Italian, the SMB CC56. All kinds of letters and numbers going on right there. It doesn't have a cool name like Vipera or Bassotto, but it's interesting. This line starts at 5. You can see my reviews of the 5 and 6. Those are out. This is the first one, the Tier 7. That kind of turns into what the rest of the line is going to be, which is this sort of heavy assault TD with an autoloader that has a really long intra clip in the between shot thing, 7 seconds on this one. This one is a bit of a transition though, because it does have some guns that are not the top gun, that are not the autoloading gun. This one was very painful stock, extremely painful stock, and I struggled mightily. I did grind through most of it. I didn't use a lot of free experience. A couple times if I got within a couple hundred of the module, I went ahead and just bought it out of the sheer pain of not having that said module. We'll talk about it as we go. I'm not really sure. I haven't even looked at this. What do we got here? We have an assault tank destroyer, one of the first post-war designs for Italian tank destroyers. Very interesting. With a limited turret traverse up to 60, although this one doesn't have that at all. This has 10. Oh, 30, sorry. It's got 30, okay. Project was, 60 degrees, 30 each side. See, this is all stuff I should have known before I started making the video. Heavily influenced by designs for American tank destroyers such as the T-95. In particular, a distinguishing feature was the placement of the entire crew in the rotating turret. The vehicle was supposed to use components of the American T-95, but the latter did not reach mass production. Further development was discontinued. So I think we've developed a line off of this, of tanks that were never seen. Bassotto, I believe, was actually built, I want to say, but this one, not so much. We got a bit of a design tank. I don't know, we have fantasy tanks, kind of, that are just out of thin air for the most part. We have these kind of planned design tanks. We have the prototype tanks. We have the tanks that went into early development and didn't have very many of them made. So this is one of those design tanks that we've gone ahead and added into the game. So it's a Tier 7, has a pretty good armor profile on the front, very flat on the side, easy to pin from the side. 30 degrees each side for the turret right there, so a total field of regard of 60 degrees in the front kind of tank. Very interesting. Does have an autoloader at the top, has cyclical guns down below. So let's take a look actually at the research on this one just for a potato. Oh, other thing I want to mention is this goes from Tier 6 with 3 crew to Tier 7 with 4 crew, and then it is the same crew layout up to the 10. So from Tier 7 to 10, you can move your crews forward, and you're not going to have radio operators changing spots and all that kind of garbage. You will have to add a guy, and depending on how you picked your skills on your Tier 5 or 6, if you did move that crew up, you will have to reskill them. Kind of depends how you went. There's a lot of modules on this. This is not something Wargaming has done a whole lot of in the past with new lines. They tend to be very streamlined. As a matter of fact, the Tier 8 has a weird thing where a turret goes to another separate gun that doesn't go to the next tank. This one does have an extra turret, which is right here. Now, what I did see or note is you do not need the tracks to go all the way through the guns and get the gun. You're going to have to decide what you want to do yourself, so you don't need the tracks for the weight. You're fine in that case. You can use all the equipment. You can put everything on this thing. I think maybe except the engine, as I recall it, though I could be wrong on that. I know you can go through the guns in the turret, but it's extremely sluggish and turns like the Titanic without the tracks and the other engine. I'm not saying it's zippy when you upgrade those two, but goodness gracious. And I think as I recall, the radio was already unlocked from somewhere else on the line, so you might actually have the radio already unlocked for whatever that's worth. A lot of people don't even bother doing that. I like to unlock everything so I can get it deleted for whatever that's worth. I did have some blueprints that were randomly brought up for the CC67 that I have unlocked. I want to say I needed about 56,000 experience, but that was with about 25% taken care of by blueprints. So just chuck that out there for you as well. And as you will note, and I said that these two guns, the 90 and the 9060, the 9053 and the 9060, are not the autoloader version. So you don't get that until you get the Top Gun. Top Gun sitting at 175 pin for standard round, only 212 for the premium. It's a little low for ATD. Some of the heavily armed tier 9s are very difficult for this thing to deal with only 212 pen. These other guns are not very much better, 175 and 195, and then 165 and 195. They look kind of useful, but I found them to be very anemic, and this thing really starts to shine, as much as it does anyway, when you get that autoloader. You've got 3 shells in there, and you can drop about 1,000 damage-ish, just slightly under 1,000 damage with those 3 shots. But remember, you're taking 7 shots, 7 seconds between shots, so that's 21 seconds, which is not far off of some other tanks, to be honest with you. And then you drop down to a 18-second reload with vents and some other things, and Brother in Arms. It actually brought mine down to about 15 or 16, which is pretty quick, actually. Pretty quick, and you're right back into the fight. Well, that's all the tech tree stuff right there that you want to deal with. You can see I had 4 crew in there. I don't have the crew here. They were about 4 skills working on their 5th, so I used a lot of books when the Italian line came out. That's what I did, and I just moved that crew up to the 8. So it was a very good crew with all the usual things you might suspect that would be in there. We're running vents. We have an IA and a turbo. The turbo, just because it's so sluggish, I'm really starting to believe in the turbo. I really like it. The IA, because it is derpy. I did bring the dispersion, I want to say, down to about 0.35. The crew is not in there, obviously, so it was about 0.35 with the commander bonus and the Brothers in Arms and such that was going on there. And I'm running 3 kits. I did run 24 AP, 15 of the special rounds, APCR, and 3 HE for giggles in there. I did not really find any trouble with this in terms of running out of ammo. Let's take a look at a comparison amongst some of its peers. And this one was, I don't know. There isn't anything like it, basically, at Tier 7. There's no other auto-loading TD at Tier 7 unless I missed it. Maybe I looked at them for a while, and I'm pretty sure there isn't. If there is, let me know down below. So there's not really a straight comparison. So I have a couple of oldies and goodies like the JP and the Su-100 M1. And then you think, well, it's got a lot of armor, and the AT-7 has a lot of armor, so let's kind of look at that one. And then you say, well, it has kind of this half turret thing going on, and the Challenger has a half turret. So that's why I picked the things that I picked. A couple of assault TDs like the Su-100 and AT-7, the old standard JP, and then something that had a turret. That's about the best I could come up with for comparison. You see that it's got a 320 damage with its top gun, which is tied for the JP at the top. The pen is low, 175 for the standard round. Notice all these other TDs. That's a balancing factor. All of these casemate TDs that aren't autoloaders don't have an autoloader. I find that kind of interesting, though, because it is an autoloader, but it isn't. With the 7 seconds between shots, that's almost as fast as the Challenger is reloading without a bunch of extra equipment. Remember, this is set up for 100% crew and no equipment. So you're almost, in a Challenger, firing as fast as the CC-56, and you don't have the 16-second reload time where you're down for all that time. Just as one example. I mean, the JP's not far off either at 7.86. The AT's faster at 5.94. The Su's faster at 6.81. What that equates to is if we get down to the DPM, it has a horrible DPM. I think one of the things that really makes this tank struggle is that whole timing thing right there that I just talked about. All these other TDs, although they don't all have as hard a hitting guns, the JP does, have reloads that are right around the amount of time between shells in the CC-56, and they don't get taken out of the fight for 15 to 16 seconds waiting for 3 more shells. I found this autoloader configuration with that long in between and that kind of anemic of a DPM and good but not great alpha to not really work in terms of the way this game is played. It kind of doesn't work. What does work is it's got good armor. I kind of got ahead of myself, but you're looking at 1843 on the DPM, and all these other ones are well above. I mean, the JP at 2442. I mean, come on. Usually you see that with autoloaders. They have lower DPM, but often that's because they have a burst. This has no burst. There is no burst. It's got a slow and steady autoloader with 7 seconds between. So this balancing factor doesn't work for this tank. It's not good. It hurts it well more than it should. And the 215 to 212 actually gold pen hurts it as well. struggles a bit in the offensive side for sure. What it does have is, as I just noted, as I was trying to get ahead of myself, is armor. You can see the holes at 220, the turret at 260. And these other tanks, the AT's got 203. Obviously, there's no turret on the casemates. 140 on the Sioux, but it's highly angled. This thing is pretty crazy with the bounces on angles. The JP has virtually no armor at 80, although it's okay angled. And then the Challenger is not known for armor, kind of thing. But 220 hull and 260 turret. We'll look at it, what it looks like on tanks.gg, because there's a couple important things to note about that armor. If we look at its mobility, 31. I mean, it's not AT720, right? That's why I put a turbo on it, guys, so we could get into that 36 regime or so and just not feel like such a sluggard. Reverse speed is 10, which is horrible. Absolutely, its reverse is very painful, and when you are in an autoloader and you kind of pop out and you want to take maybe 2 shots, although realize you're going to take frickin' 8 or 10 seconds to do that with aiming time and everything else. Once you try to get out of the way, oof, its reverse speed's awful. Again, turbo helps out right there. If we get down to, and of course its specific power is low at 13, not quite AT7 low, but going up hills and things, it's just a sluggard. It really is. Hit points are decent. I didn't mention that at 1200. Really strange the difference between hit points on these tanks. Look at this. The AT and the CC at 1200 and all the rest of them in the 8 to 900. That's a big significant difference right there. It does help its survivability. So compared to some of these others, it can take some hits. All right. The camo is pretty good at 16. In fact, it's a little better than most of them in here. Not quite Su-100, but it's a fairly low profile. I think it's a little higher than the bulkiness of the tank should really allow. I mean, it's not really that much smaller than a Jagdpanther, which is at 13, but we're quibbling about 3%. And its view range, which you probably can't see down there, is 350, which is on par with everything else except the Challenger, which is at 370. None of the Tier 7 TDs can see very far. But let's go over here and take a look at the tanks.gg stuff. There it is. So we got the old Semovente right there. All right. It's not the Semovente. I was reading something else. Well, maybe it is SMV. That's what that means, right? Semovente? I think it is. It's CC-56. Well, the big green spot on the bottom is the giveaway there as far as what the relative weakness of this thing is. We come in here and we've got a pretty easy pen on a really large lower plate. So trying to protect that is going to be your key if you're doing the assault TD thing. Also, straight on is about the best thing you can do with this tank. You put some angles on there and you're giving a little bit better shots into the turret, although the turret would probably be pointing towards the guy. But really straight on, or you can angle it provided a lot of the rest of the tank isn't exposed, so that then the turret, the turret is pointing at you and the hole is protected. You start getting any kind of side stuff and over angling it is pretty easy. And it doesn't take a whole lot before they're penning into your front area right there. Does that actually angle? That is interesting how that comes fairly quickly. Look at that. Just so be careful about the lower plate. All this stuff is either auto bounce, or people are going to need in the 300 regime, especially on the turret, and then on the top hole piece right there in the 250 regime before they're reliably penning through you. We'll take a look at my stats because the armor did kind of hold up. In fact, let's do that right now. How did I do in this? Well, I got a whole 44% win rate in 50 battles. It took me 50 battles to unlock the next tank, the Tier 8. I did unlock all of the modules except for the radio, which I already had. And of course, with all the times 5 times this times the other, I ran boosters all of the time, and I did have a few of the blueprints that had showed up along the way. So I want to say 20 to 25% or so of it was done with blueprints. So 50 battles is what it took me to do to unlock. 44% win rate, not great. 38% battles survived, which is pretty good. I will say of these 50 battles, 2 of them were absolutely my fault in losses. I completely blew 2 of these games. I'm still salty about them. That would have brought me to 24 and 25, with just under 50%. And I will say, also, while I was running at stock, I was running in the 30% win rate area. It was just super rough as a stock tank. Once it got the top gun and the top engine and tracks, things started to move along. In fact, I was probably sitting more like 800, 700 average DPG before I got the big gun on it. And then I started dropping some some better pain with that thing. So that was much better. The 1268 per game is slightly on the low side for my tier 7 TDs, but not really an outlier of any kind. It's not super low, but it's right in there. But I do have some that have about that DPG, and they're more like 55-60% win rate tanks. I'm pretty sure by the time I get to 100 battles, I'll have this decently above 50%. I don't know how high. I would guesstimate maybe up to 55%, but I would have to do a lot of winning to do that, obviously. Obvious things are obvious right there. But I think I can do it. I can certainly get it above 50% by 100. Damage ratio is okay at 1.38. We've got 1.81 destruction. There's the armor I was talking about, 0.61, which is a, I say it every time I do this, but at 0.5, that is good situational armor. So in this case, a hold down tank, bouncing stuff off the turret, it does a nice job with that. The reason it's not closer to 1 is because the hull is quite vulnerable, and once you get out in the open or people get to the side of you, they're going through you. Okay, it's going to happen. Hits were okay at 73.16, even with the derpy nature of the gun. I wish it was a little bit higher, and I think it started to improve as I got better with the tank. We're looking at damage received 922 and 285 with assistance, kind of low, but it is a TD. And I had a game at 32-20 with 6 kills. I might have that as an example when we get there, but we'll have to see if that actually is one of the games that I've got for you to see. So there you go. What do we have? Well, we've got a transitionary from the tier 6 to the 7 to the kind of the assault TD, which is what, which is what the Wargaming folks think this thing is. And at tier 6, it actually fulfills that role pretty decently. I played it a lot like a heavy most of the time. Only on occasion did I go camp and play it as a TD. And I guess camp's not a good word for that, but hang back or support or be second echelon or whatever you want to call it. I don't think I ever really just camped the cap or anything like that. So on occasion I did that, but I found the gun to be derpy enough that that was a little bit painful to do. I didn't look at the, we didn't talk about the speed of the shells. They're not bad. The AP's at 900, and the APCR is getting up there into fairly comfortable land, somewhere around 1,200 meters a second, so not bad. Anything above 1,000 starts to get more and more comfortable in terms of how much lead fire you need and such. So there you go. I found it to be mostly like a heavy with a kind of a strange gameplay style of sort of cyclical, and it has burst but not really because it's hard to employ. Let's take a look at some games. All right, this is my 34th game, and you can see on top tier, 2-tier battle right here. So this is where the tank like this really shines. You'll notice there's 2 other SMBs over on the other side. I'm also playing and doing these reviews while this line just came out, and we're covered up in TDs. So understand that there's, that's going on while we're talking about this tank and my experiences with it. It's starting to thin out as I get to the higher tier, so there's less and less, but some of the lower tier games had 8 of the tier 5s or tier 6s in it, and I saw a lot of multiple SMBs, CC 56 and whatever the other one is, 63 or 67, so that does color it just a little bit. This is the first game where I was, I think, fully upgraded. Yes, I have a autoloader on here. It was my first or second autoloader game, and finally where this thing started to feel like it was doing something. Notice how long it takes to zoom in. The circle was huge. I actually shot a little bit before. As soon as I fired, I hit C and started to reload. I think I took a shot before that. I didn't show you on the move, and I missed him. So aiming is a big deal with this thing. So there's the 15 seconds, 16 seconds for the reload. You're kind of out of the fight, and we'll get reloaded and kind of hang out right here. Obviously, we're on Himmel's Airfield Dorf, and we'll just kind of look around and see if we can get some shots. I'm hoping somebody might go up to the north. This is a weird deployment. We've got all kinds of dudes in the back. We're just all in the north, and there's one super Hellcat in the south. EBRs were raging around, going crazy on this one. So I thought I'd take... The other team seemed to be having a weird setup too, so I just sort of drive this thing up to this sniper post. And it's not a tank that it's easy to get into positions like that. Somebody shot at me from that position, so I'll just shoot one in there. Notice I am immediately firing gold, like a great big gold spamming kind of person. I just found the penetration so anemic at 175 and so painful, I almost always fired APCRs. I got tired of bouncing. I'm also not going to bring you any bottom tier games here, because frankly I didn't have a lot of good bottom tier games, mostly first of all to the driving it stock at first, And then the frickin' pen just was painful. And I'm quite certain a much better player than me would be able to make it happen. I don't even know where that went. Just completely missed. I guess I hit the rock in front of it or whatever. There goes the old M2Y making a runner. View range is not great. You can see that that guy was kind of right there, and he just disappeared because he was outside of my view range, and my spotter down there is mortared out. Dude's gone. So we got 3 guys down the south. We're winning the north. Things are looking actually pretty good, and this guy just loses his mind and goes out into the open. Somehow I don't get spotted, so they've got as bad a view range as I do, which is nice. There's that 7 seconds. Boom. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. You know, it just takes forever to get that second shot. So remember, folks, you're not going to pop out and go bang, bang, bang and go, ooh, 1,000 damage on you, sucker. Play it like a cyclical gun. And I spent a lot of time reloading. As I was trying to figure out with the thing, you know, when is the best time to reload? Because a lot of times with autoloaders, you had a 3-shot autoloader, and you take maybe a shot or two, and you know you're not going to be in the fight for a while, you quickly reload. And I don't know how well that worked with this tank. It does have a fairly fast reload on it. So we'll come down here and around the corner. See, I'm even confusing myself as I talk about it. It was a weird auto-loading experience. Let me just say that. But you can trick yourself or out-clever yourself with a reloader, especially the long one. Say on a 40T kind of tank where you take 3 shots and you press reload and you're out of it for 30, 40 seconds. There's a snap, just didn't work, and this thing struggles with those. And all of a sudden somebody pops out and you're like, shit, I wish I was sitting there with my 2 shells, because now I'm out of it for 30, 40 seconds, and if I had my 2 shells that I lost because I forced a reload, I killed this guy. That's the trick with this thing. I didn't find that as much with this, with only 16 seconds between. Alright, so here's an interesting thing, and I wanted to specifically talk about this, and I may actually make a Q-tip out of this one as well. Alright, the Panther knows exactly what he's doing. I only have 30 degrees field of regard each side. And it does not spin very well. And I'm kind of in water down here and sand and such as well. If I get up close to that rock and let him get around me, I will never recover from that if he's any kind of good. I might be able to scrape him off on the rock, but he's going to get several shots into my side. So I'm trying to figure out how I can kind of go at him. And one of the things I'm thinking about here is I'm trying to find out which the front of his tank is. Let's find here. All right, so the front of his tank is over here on the left side. I really don't want to chase him around from behind because he's faster forward. If I'm going to make him try to go around the rock, I want him to be reversing. So I needed to be going for the left side. So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can head fake him. I also don't want the other guy to come around behind me. Then I make a mistake, right? I'm going forward and like, oh, he goes that way. Somehow, I don't know, I auto-aim and it went around the rock. It just barely made it. Now I'm doing the right thing. Let's come at him from the front. He's not as fast. Trying to reorient. Notice as you come around the corner, you're putting the front of your tank and the tracks out there, and a fast-firing guy with the Panther, he's forced me to use my kit. If he can keep me permatracked, I'm going nowhere, and I had that happen to me several times with this tank. He just sort of made mistakes there at the end and basically let me get in there and get him, although I think he was also worried about other guys shooting him coming around the side there. So we get 2,400 out of that. I don't know if I can get any more shots in here. Speed this thing up. No. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think we cap or something stupid. Is that what happens? Yeah. I think the IS caps, and somehow we allow the S51 and the T78 to get away. So, 2 kills, 2,436. A little bit of derp on the gun. We talked a bit about the reload situation. We talked about getting circled in this thing is really dangerous. You got to be careful with situations like I had with the Panther right there. So 3 pretty big things. Also, it's the autoloader version of the gun, of the tank. I honestly did not have hardly any decent games with the lower tier guns. They're serviceable, but I don't recommend playing the lower tier guns on this tank if you can avoid it. Let's look at the next one. Alright, this is one of the games that I just absolutely blew wholesale, unfortunately. Head up to the top, we're on Himmelsmalinovkadorf. I did piss and moan a little bit, let's just keep it going, about the guys pushing in the south. Half the team is down there. They're all getting shredded by getting spotted out in that flat. I don't know. There's no arty, so at least that's a little bit in our favor. They did kill some tanks, although now the enemy team is blunting that attack. I am also up here alone, but looking at what there is, I don't know. I feel like I could probably handle it. If the VZ and the T-29 both jump on me, I'm in trouble. Maybe with a couple other helpers coming along. But I've also got another heavy coming up behind me, the ARL and the Tiger one. So we should be able to handle it. They're so busy taking on the push down in the south that I feel like maybe they didn't bring much up here, and it turns out that they really didn't. Tiger 1 comes in, ARL comes in. Now we've got our 3 tanks. Nobody has showed up. The Tiger just YOLOs around the corner. I don't really know what that's all about, but there you go. And so now we're going to go ahead and start using that gold round. We see we're looking for a green spot. Little pixel snipe misses. I do have that good armor on the turret, so we're going to test it out. We can kind of come a little bit forward here. As long as you don't expose too much of the hole. We'll let this thing zoom all the way in here and shoot. So again, kind of a bad habit on my part. I often don't let it get completely zoomed in. It's kind of a timing thing. I want to shoot right when it gets there, and I tend to be a little early. Tiger gets a little too far in. He starts eating some shots he probably doesn't want to eat. I'm going to back out while I'm reloading. Notice that we're still kind of fighting down the south. Everything's looking okay. We got 2 of their tanks, and especially this VZ, I would love to get rid of this guy. This is a good opportunity to take one of their 7 heavies out if we can. There's a shot in the face, a 308. And we are really shooting some low rolls here. Okay, 320, so we got a 289 and a 308. I didn't see what the rest were. They were probably high rolls. That's dumb. I mean, it's an APCR round. I thought I'd just maybe get a shot. I got hit by something in there. I kind of know where he is. We'll force a reload. The Tiger loses his mind and pushes into a bunch of guys camping, so really stupid kind of thing to do right there. He's going to get shredded. I'm going to come here to get a little closer to the work. The VZ dies. That's good. See if we can get some shots on guys down below. There goes the Tiger. What a mystery that is. I'm very surprised that happened. Not fully zoomed. Also no lead fire, so not surprised I missed that shot. Force a reload. He got away-ish. He's down below right there. See, there's a great example. I talked about it last when I was babbling about the reload stuff, but that's actually a great example right there. I think I probably had another shot. I probably could have got another shot or 2 if I hadn't backed out and forced a reload. So there's an example of my reload timing maybe not being quite right. Be a little more patient. Go, is there another shot? No. Because I really wasn't forced here. It's not like I was being charged and go, holy shit, I need 3 shells. I'm fine. I could have probably, okay, am I going to get another shot on that guy? Is he going to do something stupid? That's kind of what I was mostly worried about, though, is somebody down here in the trees. If I'm looking off to the left, I'm going to get shot in the right side of my turret flat plate, and I don't really want that. Team starts to lose. You can see that south push is starting to die. Oh, by the way, their T-29 went down there. That was very helpful for me, for him to go YOLO down there against the Nashorn and stuff. I mean, he's probably cranking out some damage and kills. There's not a whole lot over there that can hurt him too much. And now I've got to start thinking about, all right, crap. Our push in the south is gone. They still have an SMB. They still have a T-29. Our M2Y is near dead. Let's see if we can sneak a few shots in on guys and whittle them down a little bit here. There's that guy. We let that one fully zoom in, and we get him. With a 360 high roll. Very nice. Probably rolled higher than that, to be honest. That's the hit points he had to give, and that's what we took. So it was, at a minimum, a 360, potentially higher roll. Now we're starting to lose, though, right? We're down a tank. We're down 800 hit points that I can see. This guy comes on up here. There we go. Probably not enough lead fire, plus it went off to the left. I think I get this guy. He's trying to back out of this thing going, oh crap. And we do a little... Is that really a blind shot? I mean, he disappeared about a second or even less before I fired, so it was a pretty It was a blind shot with a lot of intel. It was a high intel blind shot. So we're going to hang out here. Did I do good? The Cromwell. I get into it with this guy a little bit. I say no. I'm feeling a little contrary right now because the team just YOLO'd into people. There goes the M4. Find this Basoto sitting right here. That's very good. Put one into him. I back out because I'm thinking I'm going to get spotted, but I don't, so that's fine. He's trying to get away. We'll take him out. Not a sniper gun? Okay, a little bit lucky in a couple of those. And we're still behind, right? He got 2,596 spotting. The Cromwell, I don't know if you watched it, but he went right up, I believe, through the swamp. Whatever. So I get a little pithy in there as well. There goes the E2. He just, I don't know what he expected to happen right there. That is why in the case, there's the Basoto. That is why in a case like this, you don't want to kind of push into, that forested area with this situation. He didn't really have any support sniper-wise. It was me and maybe one tank that just died. So even if he'd lit anyone, he had limited support. He wasn't going to last very long with all the sniperinos. He did find the Basoto. That's about the best we can say about it. And wow, there you go. Congratulations to me. Lucky. A bit lucky, but we'll take it. We got rid of him. That brings us down to a 3v3. And now I'm looking at this going, oh crap, their SMV is down below. Just backing up a bit to that shot, it took 2 shots to kill that Basoto, and the 7 seconds between made it really difficult to get him. And I got very lucky that I was able to catch him, even though he'd gone dark. Any other autoloader in the game probably would have killed him much easier than this, because I have 7 seconds. I'm not sure what the 8 and the 9 and the 10 have in between. I don't know if it's as long. Find the Hellcat here. This is good. I really wish I'd have pressed the HE button there. Might have been able to one-shot that guy. When you are running Intuition, you can reload your clip as long as it's fully loaded pretty quickly. So if I had that to do again, I would press 3 and try to use the Intuition and reload the HE clip and maybe kill that guy off. So now it's just me and a Basoto. I got the SMV. I don't know what his hit points are. It turns out they're not that great. He's taking a hit or 2. My Basoto dies, and now it's 3v. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. This sucks. We'll come in here, see if we can catch somebody. Maybe somebody makes a mistake. Yep, there we go. Hellcat's on the run. See if we can kill him. Nice. So we get rid of him. That works. Did not get lit. Very nice. And pretty quickly they're going to jump on Cap. I do immediately hit C because I know I don't have any shots immediately right there. And all of a sudden 2 of them get on. And I'm like, I was going to go all the way around the edge of the map on the east side, but I don't have time. So I'm going to try to use these bushes down here in this little promontory. But even so, I'm very limited here. It's going to be a close one. And then I just decide, you know what, I got to go straight at it. I was thinking I might try to get to those bushes over there, but I didn't have time. I'm like, well, now I'm going to be lucky. If I can see one of these guys, it's going to be very lucky. But hey, if I can kill one of them, if I can find one of them and put... Oh, look at this. There goes the T-20. Okay, I see him. He's making a runner. I do get lit. Get a little bit forward so he doesn't have too much cover. Nice. All right, so good. Excellent. What I don't know is how many hit points the other CC-56 has. I have full hit points, but I'm going to have to go in at him. And I don't have any more... I don't have enough APCR for a full clip. I will force the AP reload. And I'm thinking, I got all kinds of time, right? All kinds of time. Remember, it's not a very fast tank, friends. So I'm waiting for the reload. I don't want to come up and get lit and give free shots without being reloaded. Maybe a little off on the timing there. Come up here. And where is this guy? Where is this guy? Where is this guy? Okay. Oh, I don't see him. That's weird. Oh, there he is. Okay, fine. We got this. We got this. I'm feeling right now like no problem. Hey, where is he? Oh, shoot. We got some ground in our way here. And I go to HE. Just mistake after mistake. I'm thinking, well, I need a quick reset, right? But, oh, just misplayed, man. And what's funny about this is he's right behind that bush, guys. He is right there. Look how close I get. That bush, right? That freaking bush right there. I guess I don't have the... Must have been another patch. Another patch broke it. He's right there. Oh, I shoot and the shot goes into the ground. Right in front of him. Doesn't hit him. He still has APCR. Now we're at some similar hit point. Just a total disaster of an end game there, guys. I'm just embarrassed by the whole thing. But we end up with 2,600. I think there's 2 blind shots. It was over 3,000, I believe. At least 2 blind shots in there, as I recall. Maybe even 3. So we get over 3,000, 987 assists. We get 6 kills, and a complete misplay at the end just completely blows it right there. Didn't give myself a very good chance to win this thing. Total bummer. Anywho, there you go. There's some gameplay. Let's wrap this thing up. Sorry, what's the verdict on the SMV CC56 Tier 7 Italian auto-loading Assault TD? This is a hard one. I mean, I wanted to like it. I really did. It is a playstyle I enjoy in terms of getting up in people's faces and thumping them. I felt like its ability to thump was a little bit limited by several things. Derpiness of the gun. The alpha's kind of low. The DPM, while that's not everything, is low enough with the weirdness of the 7 seconds between shots that it doesn't really do the things autoloaders do necessarily. I mean, it's nice to have 7 seconds between shots, say if you were at 400 alpha like you will see when you get to the higher tiers. But at 320, I don't know. It doesn't exactly work at tier 7. On the other hand, I loved the armor, the bounciness. There are situations you can put this in where it's very difficult to root out of certain spots on maps. But it was also slow and without the turbo, and that's a piece of equipment that I feel you have to have, and it's now you can't put something else in there that might be a little bit better for it in terms of combat, but you really need it to get this thing around the map in any way that doesn't just absolutely drive you crazy and make you want to pull your hair out. I think it's an average and interesting tier 7 TD. I think it does a fairly decent job of transitioning from the 6 onto the gameplay style that you're going to see at 8, 9, and 10. We'll see how that translates for me. I'm on the 8 right now, starting to grind that thing out. I believe I'll be able to do a lot better in it than my 44% win rate right now, but I was a little bit surprised that at 50 battles I was just starting to kind of figure it out and climb, and I think that's because its playstyle is quite different. There isn't really anything out there that's quite like it. And it's all with that weirdness of the autoloader that it has, really, at the end of the day. I've said it several times, and I'm trying to come up with the way to articulate it, but I just think that the long inter-shot or the wait for shots with an autoloader is a really weird thing in World of Tanks in terms of timing, poking, exposing, trading, all those things that you have the autoloader kind of stuff / a little bit different with the auto reloader, and then you have the cyclical, and this guy he lives in between somewhere, and I don't know if there's enough I don't know if there's enough goodness in this particular tier and setup to make it work. Whereas the Vipera, for example, at tier 8 has 5 shells and a much harder hitting gun per tier anyway. That seems to work because now you've got 5 shells with 5 or 6 seconds in between. I think it's 6 seconds. You can really play that as a cyclical with a lot of holding power, right, with 5 shots. And then because of its reload, which is still relatively quick, it can surprise people. Say you take 2 or 3 shots with the Vipera, people are like, shit, he's still got 2. Does he have 2 or 3? I don't know, And then he pulls back and he hits reload, and you're like, oh man. So even if I wanted to push him, now I know he's getting 5. Well, this one only has 3 shells. So you take 2, and people kind of know. They have a good idea what's going on with you right there. And even if you only take 1, you still only had 2. You know what I'm saying? It's a weird setup. It's a weird setup, and it requires a lot of care in play. So there's my review. You know, honestly, I don't know a whole lot of what to think about. I think it's average to maybe slightly below average, but I think the armor is going to keep it up to at least average for most people. If you want to go to face brawling places and hide the lower hull and use its pretty good depression of -10, which I hadn't mentioned earlier, then yeah, this is a pretty good tank for that kind of game, that kind of play style. As far as sniping or snapshotting or rushing around the map and trying to get cleanup damage or chase damage on a Rumpelstomp, not so much. That's it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Much appreciated on the support of the channel. If you're looking for other ways to do so other than hitting the subscribe button, you can find that stuff down in the description. That's all I've got. We will see you. Bye-bye.